But Cecil, we watched the AFC and NFC championship games be set. We watched Mark Andrews cost the Ravens a chance to continue. But the Bills, they did what they were supposed to do, man. They didn't turn the football over. Lamar Jackson did. Von Miller streaking up and down the field. I want to get into all of these games with some more depth. But Washington, Detroit, that's the story. That's the story of the weekend. Jaden Daniels, in his rookie season, went into Detroit, the team that's supposed to go to the Super Bowl and represent the NFC for the first time in 40 freaking years, went into their house with LiAngelo Ball performing at halftime and took care of business and didn't bat an eye. The moment was not too big.
Yep.
They were prepared.
Yep.
He was calm, cool, collected.
Yep.
The kid has it all, and I want to know how you feel about his stats or characteristics, skill set, compared to what you know about Bose.
Well, and I'm close to that team and people in that front office. There's a reason why I knew that they weren't going to move off of that second pick. There's a reason why I knew Jaden Daniels was the pick. I went on some Washington shows. I was like, Jaden Daniels is going to be the pick. And that was like last January. People are like, well, how do you know that? I'm like, just trust me. And they were never going to move off that pick. There's a reason why he was my number one quarterback. Because some of the people that I trust the most in this business, in the scouting community, were like, you gotta, because there's a lot of groupthink, right? Caleb Williams, who is fantastic, but too many times that's all people want to do. Oh, it's just Caleb Williams, right? No. There was another, and he's better. Jaden Daniels is just better. Now, why? So I reached out to my Commanders guys over the weekend after the big game. You know, usually give people a day if they lose, and if they win, you start texting them right away. Right. You try to catch them in a good moment. What are you going to tell me that you don't want to tell me?
They're feeling good.
They're feeling nicey, right? They're feeling good after that win. And you just said it. Jaden Daniels is calm, cool, collected. Like, does he have a pulse? The dude's just a cold-blooded assassin out there, just killing fools. So I asked my Commanders people, like, hey, what makes Jaden so special? I already knew he was my number one quarterback, whatever. But what makes Jaden so special? And I was told two things. His leadership and his faith. His leadership and the fact that everyone is going to be behind him because he's just, we're down by 3, whatever, we got this. We're down by 8, yeah, we can do this. Like, no matter what, the people follow him. The players follow him. Coaches just want to be around him, and you see kind of that magnetic personality that he has just from his mere leadership ability. Secondly, his faith. He doesn't have any worries. He's know the God's got his back, right? And that's something that multiple people told me about that with Jaden even before the draft. I knew he was big time, Christian athlete, right? Sure. And we look at Bo Nix. What is Bo Nix? He's a leader and he's a Christian athlete. Now, say what you want about whatever, but it's like having that faith and having that calmness. How can you perform with a calm mind? I think if you look at athletes, and I remember talking to Nader Abdallah, who was I think he might have been the first Muslim player for Ohio State. And he was talking about his faith and like how then the sweater vest, Coach Tressel, allow him to put quotes from the Quran in the locker room where they had some Bible quotes. Players have to play with a mind of like, I know I'm putting my life on the line, but there's something better than that, right? I know what I'm doing, but I've got, somebody's got my back. Whoever that is, right? So if you look at the players that can play with the calm mind, I look at what Jaden Daniels does and does every single week, being told of what he is as a leader. I look at Bo Nix and I see the same thing. Now I look at Jaden Daniels and I see a receiving group that it's Terry McLaurin and it's kind of Cortland Sutton and here. So maybe they're even, maybe they're not. I look at a tight end room and I go, well, he's got Zach Ertz. That's better than anything the Broncos can trot out.
And you want to talk about trust. They got a lot of trust in that tight end when they need one. That's where they're going.
Then I look at the backs behind them. You have even Jeremy McNichols, their third string back, who was a Bronco for a cup of coffee, the Boise State kid. He's behind Austin Eckler, who's behind Brian Robinson. So if you just, the key ingredients that you have with Jaden Daniels and what makes him special are similar to the key ingredients that you have with Bo Nix. Not just their arm strength, not just the fact that they can run, because both of them can scoot. And I think the running quarterback is, one, here to stay, and two, what you need. If you do not have a running quarterback in the NFL, you're done. You're absolutely done. And look at the teams that are remaining. Josh Allen can scoot, right? He can get out of it. Pat Mahomes can scoot and then flop. Like, of the teams that are remaining, look what happened to Jared Goff.
Yeah.
Jared Goff can't really run anymore. And look at how he was just a standing target there getting crushed, right? So, like, I think there's some key ingredients. But in talking to my Commanders people, learning more about Jaden Daniels now a year in with those guys, not before the draft, they love him, and I know they love him, but a year in with the guy, in the foxhole, if you will, it's his just cool demeanor that comes from his leadership ability and from his faith. And I look at Bo Nix and I go, well, get him some help.
Yeah.
Because Jaden's got the help that Bo doesn't have. We could be talking about the Broncos in this game. And again, their path would have been different because they would have had to play Kansas City last week. But either way, we could be talking about the Broncos here in a year. In 2025, that could be part of the conversation. Not only are they a playoff team, but they're a deep run playoff team. But you got to set it up the way that Jayden is set up because that's a special, special quarterback, and I believe they have one here in Denver as well.
I like that. I like it a lot, and I will say that calm, cool, collected that we saw out of Jayden, that's a big part of the next step from Bo. He had that, but there were still early on weeks 1 through 4. We've talked about it. What'd you say? The foot frequency, right?
Yeah,
we were talking
right.
about with running backs and with the quarterbacks of where his feet were, or more importantly, were not when he's trying to throw the football. And again, did I watch Jaden Daniels games the way I watched Bo Nix? No. Or the way even you watch them? No. But Jayden there's never pressure. There's never a moment where, oh God, he's going to make a massive mistake.
Right.
He's going to cost his team in a moment. There were some of those from Bo. The happy feet, trusting too much, forcing something.
Leaving the back of the pocket.
Leaving the back of the pocket. Trying to fit stuff in the window, which I don't blame a quarterback a ton for those things unless it becomes a repetitive problem. But Jayden never had that. That would be the next step of Bo, of going, oh, you're down 10, you're down 13, all good, because that guy's back there.
Yeah.
I don't feel that way, and I would assume a lot of folks can't say they feel that way necessarily about Bo today, like a lot of people would feel about Jayden.
So how do you get him to where Jaden's at? Because Jayden is clearly ahead. Kev, clever years. Jayden is clearly ahead. I mean, he was my number one quarterback for a reason. This dude's a stud playmaker. He's a player. He is a superstar in the making. Bo can be as well. But how do you get him there? Because here's the thing. At the end of the day, when you watch Jaden Daniels, can you rattle him? Do you ever see him shook?
Doesn't seem like it.
Not at all. I mean, not even like half a play.
No.
There was the one moment in December where Marcus Mariota went to him like between plays. He's like, hey, use your special God-given ability and go out there and make plays. And then he did. So maybe in that moment, the young man had some doubts. But watch Bo Nix. I'm not afraid of nothing, right? Yelling at Sean Payton, yelling at Tyree Wilson, yelling at everybody. Like, I'm not afraid of nothing. Yeah, he's not. That same sort of superstar charisma and really the formula. What are the ingredients for a franchise quarterback? You can't rattle him. Bo Nix can get there if you get him some help the way that Jayden's got help.
And I think another fair question to this is, I'm not saying I don't like where Bo is with his coach relationship, but we've talked about this before. Cliff Kingsbury, Jaden Daniels, Sean Payton, Bo Nix. Obviously, the right answer right now is Cliff Kingsbury, Jaden Daniels, because they're preparing for a game this weekend.
Right.
And Sean's on vacation and Bo's in Alabama. So can they close that gap more? Can the fit, the word that you use, can that resemble more of what's happening in Washington moving forward? Now, the backfield has a ton to do with it. What they have there with the Commanders is obviously different and better than the Broncos as well. And Cliff's down to use the running backs a lot more frequently than Sean is.
Yes.
So that's a part of the conversation too.
And then when do these guys take over for their coaches?
Right.
When is Cliff Kingsbury taking a backseat to Jaden Daniels? Might be pretty soon.
Or have it already begun? Has it already
Well,
begun?
why didn't Cliff Kingsbury fall apart at the end of the year like his offenses do all the time?
And there was about a 2-week period where it started to, and then they popped right back to where they were.
And then Jayden took over.
Yeah.
So, but Sean Payton is way better than Cliff Kingsbury. But there will be a moment where Bo just completely takes over. It's like, Sean, I got this. Coach, I got this. It's a proud papa moment. You know what I mean? And Sean Payton will have that proud papa moment eventually. It'll be later than Cliff Kingsbury because Sean Payton's way better than Cliff Kingsbury. But just look at what you have in front of you. It's right there. The whole formula is right there with the Commanders quarterback in Jaden Daniels. This isn't a Robert Griffin III thing. Because, and again, I'm a Jayden supporter and a defender, but I also just want to talk about reality and the truth. When people are like, it's like Robert Griffin III, If you're saying Jaden Daniels and RG3 are the same rookie quarterback, you have no idea what you're talking about. Because Mike Shanahan, and Mike might even tell you this, was covering up for RG3 so much with his offense and with his play design. It's why in year 2, when RG3 went to him, I was like, I'm not running these plays anymore. And Mike's like, those are the plays that make you look good. Like, what am I supposed to do? So that caused the problems. By the way, are those type of problems going to be there for Bo or for Jaden? No. Why? Because leaders listen. The number one thing about leadership, you know what my Commanders guys told me? These guys love Jaden because he knows a lot about them individually. You know what I mean? He cares. And you heard the same thing about Peyton Manning. When Peyton Manning's in the locker room and he can go ask a guy, how the kids, and you got the newborn, right? And he knows stuff about you, right? When Peyton Manning, remember we did the injury report on the media? And he's like, Mike Kliss, he's probably got carpal tunnel from there. Like, he knew all of us, right? And it was a great moment, but it also shows you how a Peyton Manning shows up in your building and he's not there to just be like, I'm Peyton Manning, screw you guys, I'm going home. No, he was like, okay, who are you? Like, what? And he learns about you. Jaden learns about people. Bo learns about people. And again, I'm not going to slam Russell Wilson the way Sean Payton does constantly, and it's awesome.
I love it too.
But you went from a quarterback that felt like he was better than everybody. And that's not me saying that. That's players in that locker room.
I hadn't said this, and you're going to know it as well. So going to the Broncos games last year, I didn't do a ton of like game day coverage Russ's first year with the Broncos, but then the next year I did, and then this year was at every game along with you and covering practices and things. So here's how it worked. You play the game. Sean goes in, talks to the team. It's either a party or an undressing, depending on the results. And then quarterback and coach come to the podium. And then after that, the locker room's open. You can hang out as long as you want. They'll eventually kick you out, and you can talk to all the players that are still chilling there. The full season that I was there, every single game for Russ, didn't see him in that second part of the locker room. He'd come to the podium, and then they could go to the field. Russ had his own little room where he could go with his people.
Yep.
That's where he was spending most of his time. You know where Bo is after every game? He's going to the podium, and then, he's at the far end there, but he's down there at his locker talking to the team. Well, being one of the dudes. That matters, man. That stuff matters.
This will get Kev excited because it's the exact same thing Peyton would do. And that's Peyton Manning. Mm-hmm. So we would talk to Peyton Manning at the podium, and then somebody like, now you don't talk to him. He's in the locker room.
You already talked, so you leave him alone. Yeah,
I already talked. You leave him alone, but you're like, that's Peyton Manning. He's right there.
It's more importantly, he doesn't get to talk to us nerds.
No.
He's talking to Eric Decker. He's talking to Demaryius Thomas.
Yep.
Bo's talking with Marvin Mims. Bo's talking with Jaleel McLaughlin.
Right.
Bo's talking to Adam Troutman.
Right.
That's what's more important.
So the combination or the formula that you have in Washington, and sorry to my buddy Keith, who's a really big Eagles fan, and Keith, you're probably listening. I apologize, brother. I want the Commanders to win.
Who doesn't? Honestly, unless you're Keith.
Keith. I want the Commanders to win.
Kevin's raising his hand.
There's no Jaden Daniels slander.
You're just a Jaden
There's
hater.
no Jaden Daniels slander whatsoever.
I'm not a Jaden guy.
He's a Jader. A Jaden Daniels hater. That's what you call those people.
You're not a Jaden guy? Well, get ready for this guy to win Super Bowls and you to be sick of your life.
Why don't you like him?
Guys, look, he's great. He's great. Let's get that out of the way.
Now he's being a smart ass like me.
Yeah.
I'm
really,
a Bo
really
Nix.
He's really good.
I'm Team Bo Nix over Jaden.
Listen, and I saw this on Twitter
like
this
Manning
weekend.
versus Brady.
I don't think it is like that. But I saw this on the weekend, and it was some Broncos blogger who was probably my friend, so I apologize, I can't remember. But they're like, just because Jaden's great doesn't mean we can't enjoy Bo. Like, there doesn't have to be this Bo-Jaden thing. And I'm not mad at you, Kev. I'm kind of getting mad. But, we don't need this whole Bo versus Jaden crap. They're in different conferences.
Well,
and they're different quarterbacks.
To get to Kev, to your point a little bit, if it got to that point, how a freaking Lula, it would get to that point where we feel like it's Jaden, Bo, Tom, Peyton. That means they're having some epic moments in the regular season. In this instance, it'd have to be epic moments in the Super Bowl.
It'd have to be in the Super Bowl.
So that would be outstanding if it got to that moment.
Yeah. And guys, my thing is, I think too many people are disrespecting Bo Nix. Not you guys.
How are we disrespecting Bo?
Not you guys. Not you guys.
Okay.
It's the national media. We just fell in love with Jaden Daniels 2 weeks into the season. It's like, well, let's not crown him as Rookie of the Year 2 weeks into the season. That's how the national media works. Guys, Jaden Daniels did a lot with a lot more talent than Bo had. Bo had 32 drop passes this year. Jayden only had 20. The Commanders had a game where Jayden didn't play. Marcus Mariota went in. They still scored 40 points. So it's like when Tom Brady went out, the Patriots still won 11 games that year. Now, they didn't make the playoffs for the second time ever. A team with 11 wins didn't make the playoffs. But you got to understand, if the Broncos are without Bo, they're not putting up 40 points with Jarrett Stidham.
And not us, but nationally or online. When someone promotes Jayden, it doesn't mean they're anti-Bo. We gotta stop with this. I'm not saying you're doing that, Kev. Right. Again, I am kind of getting mad about this whole conversation because Jayden's where's the dump button? Jayden's a flipping stud.
Yes.
Yeah. A flipping stud. But you know what? Bo is too. And we got to stop with this whole well, if you say one thing, it means you're totally against the other. And boy, I could get real personal in this conversation, but I won't. But it's we have to go, okay, what's the key ingredient? You mentioned better talent around him. Put better talent around Bo.
Yeah.
And then see how far this team gets. Because you have special in Washington and you have special in Denver. I don't know what they have in Minnesota. Mm-hmm. I don't know what they have in Atlanta. I don't know what they have in New England, although Drake May has looked good. I have no idea what they have in Chicago. So of the 6 quarterbacks that were taken in the first round, you got 2 superstars and then a bunch of question marks. And in this class, because not everybody works out, Josh Rosen, Sam Darnold, but in this class, there might only be 2. You might have already hit on the 2. And we know, hey, Caleb's all right and Drake May's okay, but Bo's a superstar and Jayden's a superstar. A lot of football left to be played. But if you just look at overall the class, not all 6 of those guys are going to work out.
I also saw this, which I thought 2 things came from it, but I saw that people were sharing or reposting a tweet from Jaden Daniels at 13. That's the first one. Should kids be on Twitter at 13? I don't have children, but if I did, they certainly would not be. And then second, the tweet read, y'all are going to know my name someday, or everyone will be talking about me someday at 13 years old. I know 13 on Twitter, you're probably saying some wild things, but just thought it was cool that that's resurfacing. Obviously, the weekend he, as a rookie, is going to the NFC Championship.
I don't want to make anyone sensitive, but look at what Josh Allen was tweeting when he was 13. I think it was 15, but still, yeah.
It's that's what I'm saying. Probably shouldn't be on the internet on social media until, I don't know, when did you let your kids were older, so social media wasn't a thing to deal with.
And
forever.
then it became I don't want to be on the stuff you're on.
Yeah.
Facebook's for old people.
Yeah.
Twitter's for old people. Wait a second, what?
Yeah, I guess it is now. That's what you still hear and say. All right, and then as far as the Final Four of the NFL goes, AFC and NFC championship games, like you said, who in the world is not rooting for Bills Commanders?
Bills Commanders. That's
Doesn't
the Super
everybody
Bowl
want to
we
see
want.
Bills Commanders? Unless, again, you're in Philly. You obviously are going to root for your Eagles, but the world wants to see Bills Commanders. The winner, the team gets over the hump. How great is the story of Jaden Daniels as a rookie doing it? And then obviously Josh Allen and the ties here locally with him going to college right up the road at Wyoming. That's what the world wants, right?
Yeah.
Commanders and Bills.
Well, look at the other choice we have. Chiefs and Eagles.
Been there, done that.
I've already seen that movie.
Although Saquon, man, that dude is unbelievable. More than 400 yards of offense in 2 games versus the Rams. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I always got to root for Saquon.
Might want to stop that guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When he kept going, I'm and they're playing single high safety, and then the safety couldn't get over there. I was like, what are you doing? Do everything, stuff everything, make Jalen Hurts beat you with his arm because he can't.
He also, it was, what's the young fella's name, Jared Verse?
Yeah.
Who tweeted out before, I hate Eagles
Philly
green
fan.
and all this stuff. I'm like, oh, that's an interesting choice. And then he's the chaser on the Saquon first breakaway touchdown. Well, that's because Saquon's playing with his food, slows down, gears down for a second, just so he could touch that Philly green and then take off again in the end zone. So as much as I don't need to see Philly in the Super Bowl, I am a big-time Saquon Barkley fan. You leave the team that drafted you because they're cheap as you know what.
Yeah.
Then you literally have a moment on television where the guy that's being cheap says it's not like he's going to run for 2,000. You do that. You sit out the game against them because you don't even have to play it.
Right.
And then now you are going to be in the NFC Championship game. Unbelievable.
Yeah, unbelievable. We all can root for Saquon. But Philly fans, except for my buddy Keith, are mostly annoying. So, yeah, and KC fans, y'all have had enough. I've got Kelsey fatigue. I don't care who has a podcast. They had LeBron on their podcast. LeBron made up that story.
I didn't hear this.
You didn't see that? I'll send it to you. So LeBron lied, allegedly or whatever, because he said, man, when I was 16, I got to play with a bunch of NBA guys. I went out there and I smoked them. And there's I think there's some footage, and you've heard other old heads like Mike and all them talk about this game where LeBron was like a young shaver, and he came in when like the guys were tired or whatever, and like they kind of let him have a couple. Okay. But yeah, and I guess we all remember this. It's like a fish story, right? It's this big.
Right.
It's like Kev at the Grizzly Rose. Like she looked like she was a 10. 10, like Billy Bob. I hope he gets the Billy Bob reference now from Varsity Blues.
You watched
right?
it?
Billy
You
Bob.
finished?
It's a
Yes,
10.
he
10.
watched.
Okay, he's watched it. Right. So she wasn't really a 10, Kev. But either way.
Up to him.
LeBron, I was smoking fools. And he said this on the Kelsey Brothers podcast where they got a fake laugh and everything. Like I was going to put this on Twitter, but there's some things like you have discovered when you tweet about TikTok and everyone gets offended.
Yeah.
I was going to tweet like, I don't
Not
like
everybody, 2 people actually.
Oh, okay. I don't like Travis Kelce, but I really don't like Jason Kelce.
Yeah.
I like a lot more. And I'm sorry to Derek Wolf, your buddies with him, like you get it as offended as you like, but so I was going to tweet that like, hey, Travis Kelce is way better than Jason Kelce, and both of them are terrible. And I was like, I don't need the headache.
No.
I don't need the Chiefs fans in my mentions.
Yeah.
I was just so I'll just say it publicly. Like I'm done with both the Kelseys. I'm done with their podcasts. I don't care who their significant others are. I don't care anything about either one of those guys. So please, Buffalo, don't
do it.
Choke.
Please. Did you see it was Caitlin Clark this time up there with Taylor Swift. That was her +1 in the divisional round. It was